Alumni Podcast with Dick and Prem.
From the city of brotherly love, your 2024 NFC champions, the Eagles!
It is 3rd and 16 for the Chiefs, facing the staunchest defense of the season. Back goes Mahomes. He's rushing. He's looking. It's intercepted. It's intercepted. Running with the football to the 25. Down the far side is DeJean. And DeJean is in for a touchdown.
Happy birthday, Cooper DeJean.
Cooper DeJean with a pick for a touchdown. Mahomes standing at the 1. Mahomes is back. He steps up. He fires over the middle, and it's intercepted again. It's intercepted by Zach Baun.
Yeah, this is pressure on Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes just gets that hot potato out of his hand.
Hurts is back. Hurts has plenty of time. He's looking. He fires. He completes it. Touchdown! A.J. Brown!
Fantastic execution of the offense.
1st and 10, and they take over in Chiefs territory at the 46-yard line. They go with a double tight end. They go with a pistol formation. Hurts in the gun. Trailed by Barkley. Hurts back. Looking. He is going deep. And it is caught. Touchdown!
The Slim Reaper.
Devontae Smith, 46 yards.
The Slim Reaper.
They trail 37-6 with under 10 to go in the 4th quarter. Mahomes is back. He's hit. He's hit. He fumbles the football. A fight for the ball, and the Eagles have it.
Yes, they do.
They hit Mahomes. It was Jalen Carter who broke down on Mahomes and smashed the ball away. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's over. The Philadelphia Eagles have won Super Bowl 59. They have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs 40-22. It's their 2nd Super Bowl win in 7 years. What a game. What a season. What a team. The greatest Eagles team in modern history. Eagles fans, savor it and rejoice.
We made it. We chronicled the entire season in an epic fashion. I think I knew that they were going to win the Super Bowl. Definitely after they beat the Ravens, I felt convicted in that thought.
I went back.
But before that, the Bengals game.
The first time we said it, I don't know if it was December 9th.
Something like that.
It was episode 149,
okay,
right after the Ravens game. I started the show saying, I'm making a proclamation I don't usually make, and you said, it's time.
Yes.
And I said, the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. And that was the first time we as a show had acknowledged Eagles, Super Bowl, in that sentence. Before we had said, well, they're good enough. They're good enough. They could. But it was like, it was very definitive for the first time this season.
Yeah.
On that show, we had said they are going to the Super Bowl. And it felt like they were going to win this thing. It felt different than it did 2 years ago.
It did. Well, 2 years ago was pretty unexpected. I mean, if you remember, we went into that season thinking, all right, well, Jalen just made his first playoffs, and we had a tough loss in the playoffs. Let's see if maybe they could win a playoff game.
Yeah.
And that was the expectation. Let's just go win a playoff game, and they end up winning the conference. Okay, great. Then big step back in 2023, and here we are now. But the thing about this team this year, speaking of what you're talking about with when we said it, when we knew, when I looked leading up to this Super Bowl the last 2 weeks, when I looked at the fact that they physically dominated Pittsburgh, a better front than Kansas City. They physically dominated Baltimore, a better front than Kansas City. And they have had success against the faster, good defenses like Green Bay. I thought to myself, there's a possibility this could be a blowout. I thought that they would win by 10, like I said, but I didn't know that they would be up by 34 with 2 minutes to go in the third quarter.
That was, and look, you could argue that every single point the Chiefs scored was a garbage time point.
It really was.
Every single point.
When it's 34-0.
For the sake of it, I will give them that 6 points.
Give them the first one. It was CJ was in there.
40-6 is the final score. The other points were nonsense. It was soft prevent defense just to get the ball back. Let's just get the ball back. Let's just get the ball back.
Yeah, I mean, McCollum was in.
Yeah, backups were in. Let's just.
Nick was treating it like a preseason game at that point.
Exactly. So, and then they're like, well,
and that's the biggest insult.
Yeah,
you're in the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
We got our third
and
stringers in. Yeah, and everyone's raving about Xavier Worthy's performance. It was 34-0.
Yeah.
He had 2 catches for 9 yards.
Yeah,
that's the game right there.
There was definitely. And here's another thing, because Nick Wrong from FS1.
Oh yeah, one of my favorite guys.
That guy is a complete moron.
He's a tool.
He couldn't have been more incorrect with everything he said, and then he comes on, and after he sort of backpedals, after he gets trolled by his castmates there, on
ice cold takes every week his whole life. Oh my God, this guy's not a ball knower.
He then says, "Well, the Chiefs' run defense did their job." No, here's the difference: the Eagles went into that game saying, let's play into their hands of trying to stop Saquon.
Because that's going to
what
take
they're gonna try
all
to do.
the defensive energy.
And when they say, well, they shut down Saquon, it's like, well, that was their mistake.
That was what we wanted you to do.
Right.
Because
you fed into that.
All of a sudden, you're seeing all world wideouts make catches on perfect throws from a quarterback whose pulse rate, Tech, I'm convinced that Jalen Hurts, and he said it in a mic'd up.
He's Kobe.
He said
Jordan.
His soul changed after that Super Bowl loss.
Yeah, I know.
He said it changed my soul, man. That last one changed my soul, man. And that makes sense when you realize this guy was up 40-6, not smiling.
Right. No.
That's what you want. And Barkley on that mic'd up, he's such a leader. Telling everyone, stay up here, stay up here, stay up here.
And even at the end, when in the post game, where she's trying to pull something out of Jalen, and Jalen's just like, she was like, from 2 years ago, and he's like, we should be celebrating this second.
And he's not wrong.
And he is. I look at him, and it's you know what it's like to get him to smile. It's like pulling teeth, because he is not satisfied,
and he's not supposed to be. And I know AJ Brown is just
not satisfied.
People don't know how to understand the guy. He's a gamer. He's a competitor. I read his post as, we got more coming, Philly, and we're going to stay hungry for more. And any real fan that understands A.J. Brown psychologically, like at this point you have to understand the guy. He's a little bit different and understand that he's different, and don't read into all this stuff too much.
Right.
He's basically saying, we want to win multiple rings.
Listen, it's going to be tough to do that because,
absolutely,
and we're going to get into
this.
It's
the NFL, not for long.
This is... There's 6 notable free agents. I have some asterisks next to a couple of them. A couple of them, and it's all about who stays, who goes here.
But you know what the big wild card here is, Tech, and we can say this now. Now, 5 years ago we might have been 50-50 on this, but what we can say now with almost pure certainty is that Howie Roseman is going to draft 2 starters in this draft, because he drafts starters. If he needs to, he will draft starters.
Let me get to this.
Ajomo was a 7th-round pick.
Well,
Jalix Hunt, 5th round? When was Jalix Hunt picked? I mean, these guys are... Okay, 3rd round. Shipley, 4th round. These guys are winners, and he knows how to identify them. He's 4 for 4 in his last 4 drafts.
So, all right, let's get to this. All right. Along with this offseason, with the free agents that you're either going to have to bring back or just say goodbye to.
Vaughn you have to keep. You can't lose Vaughn.
Vaughn is one that I have 2 asterisks next to, because I don't believe that he's actually going to hit free agency. I don't think he's going to get to the open
I agree
market.
with you. I think he wants to stay here.
I think they're going to, how he's going to sign, he's going to be like the first signing before free agency begins.
Right.
So I think Zach Bond and all this is kind of a non-factor.
I hope you're right, because that guy is, wow.
They got to figure out a way. I mean,
that hands interception, that's all hands right there, man.
I mean, what is it? Is it 4 years, $60 million? Is that sort of where he's at?
That's fine, the way he just played and what he was able to contribute to this defense.
Clearly an all-pro, had a huge pick. You know, quite frankly, it was a terrible. I know everyone's praising Kellen Moore. The play calling on the offensive drive before Zach Bond got that pick was a pathetic.
It was pretty bad.
Drive.
It was a 3 and out.
The play calling
was bad.
was putrid, and I didn't love Jalen's decisions there, but it was the play calling more than anything else.
But that was it in the whole game for the most part.
That was, and Zach Bond bailed them out with that interception.
Well, no,
as soon as he got that pick,
they pinned them, though. They're pinned it to 2.
As soon as he got that pick, it was like, there it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
And then an easy crosser to A.J. Brown.
Which was that was just tremendous.
I mean, Jalen was so locked in. And that we've talked about the clutch gene about Jalen.
Yes.
And I think that there's no doubt. He really, truly is, as a quarterback goes, in a class by himself. I heard this said very well. It might have been Herm Edwards. He's making all the quarterback throws you need to make, but he's built like a halfback.
Yeah.
And with that ability and his ability to do what he does just to extend the play, and that was a back-breaking 3rd and 5 run in the end of the second quarter to extend that drive.
Yeah.
Because at that point, with it being 24-0, right? Or maybe it was only 17-0. I forget what it was. At that point, if Kansas City gets the ball back and punches it in with a 2-point conversion, it's a whole different game.
Yeah.
Because even in the second half of 24-0, when they're coming out, I said to myself, this game ain't over yet.
That's what I was on the phone with my dad. I said, well, look, the thing we have to worry about is 24-0, right? It sounds over.
It's 3 scores.
And then they come out, it's 24-7. And then they have a big stop, let's say. They stop us. And then they score.
And then it's a 10-point game with a whole quarter to go.
And then all of a sudden, it's 24-14. Then we get a field goal. It's 27-14. Then they
get
score
a touchdown,
again,
right.
And now we're in trouble.
And now it's the fourth quarter where Mahomes could touch the ball last and win by 2 points.
That's what you didn't want to happen.
But you know why it didn't happen?
Well, the defense was just unbelievable.
Well, and little kicky boy.
Unbelievable. And
early on, that field goal to go up 10-0.
I apologize to Jake Elliott. I thought he was
crucial. That's a crucial kick.
You know what it is,
the
though?
first one.
What's so funny is I had a decent feeling about him because going into this game.
Well, you're indoors.
You're indoors.
Yeah,
there's zero elements, no wind. He's been bad in just a little bit of wind, and he's been bad.
We're going to get to Jake in the return of the numbers don't lie.
Well,
Super Bowl edition.
That's what I'm saying. This is a championship edition of the pod, so it's only right
our
that
first
we bring
one,
back.
Tech.
Yeah. This is our first one, yes.
Our first one.
We were doing it during the first Super Bowl year, weren't we?
No, we started in 2020.
Oh, so before then.
Well,
so we've been going.
We didn't win. I'm talking about a championship win episode. This is our first championship.
This is our first one.
I thought you were referring to 2017. We haven't been doing a pod till 2020.
No, but we covered the 2022.
So we had a conference championship edition once,
right.
But we never had this conversation after a Super Bowl.
So it's only right we bring back the numbers on live segment.
There's some amazing. You're going to be blown away at some of this.
I love it. I'm looking forward to it. But before I get to the free agents and the offseason and what I would want to do here, we just have to address Jalen Hurts real quick. I no longer want to hear. I believe it now. I believe that based on what I saw in this, basically,
this
to
season.
be honest
this
with
whole
you,
season.
The whole season, yes, but really just in these last 2 games, in the NFC Championship and the Super Bowl, what I believe in my heart now about Jalen Hurts, and I don't mean to be hyperbolic or fanboyed out about the Eagles. I'm very happy.
It is what it is, man.
But I'm going to say, in all reality, I believe Jalen Hurts is redefining what a quarterback is now.
He is.
In this version of the NFL.
It's a little bit of old school with the right amount of new mixed in.
Yeah.
Because he plays the game kind of like Elway did.
all these like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson games where they're throwing for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, that isn't Jalen's game. And I no longer am saying when I see a quarterback do that that's the mark of an unbelievable
It doesn't have to be.
quarterback.
Look, Peyton Manning lost for years and years and years, and guess what? He took a while to win his first ring, and he was that guy with the gaudy 410 yards, 4 TDs. But guess what? They lost 41-38.
Right. And my thing is, when you have, and everybody's like, well, it's all because he's got Saquon. It's all because of the offensive line. It's all because of the wide receivers.
He makes all that work, though.
Right. It's like
he's a threat.
That was the point.
Exactly.
How we knew
that
Jalen there is limitations in Jalen's game as an actual quarterback. So what he had to do was, let's bring out the player as opposed to just the quarterback.
You nailed it,
And in order
Nailed
to
it.
bring out the player,
Yeah.
we have to surround him with the proper weapons. We have to get him 2 wide receivers, a top tight end, a top O-line that protects him, and we need to go, and I know no one's spending the big money on the running back. We need to go do it.
And you know
what?
We
need to go do it.
You're right. Not only is Jalen redefining what it means to play a successful quarterback, but Howie Roseman has already redefined how to GM effectively in the NFL.
Absolutely.
And now you're talking about a Hall of Fame resume, and I'll tell you what, if Jalen, going into his 5th starting season next season as a defending Super Bowl champion and MVP, if he has 4 or 5 more years, wins 1 more ring, that's a Hall of Fame career.
It is. He's already, I know.
Just 1 more ring and he's in the Hall.
Yeah, absolutely. People don't want to jump to that yet, but
no, you have to.
He's
already eclipsed some of Donovan's numbers in 4 years.
He's on that trajectory.
He's already got 55 rushing TDs. Donovan had 10 seasons with 38. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
I know there's a tush-push. It doesn't matter. It works because of who he is. That's football.
I know that GMs look at Burrow and Allen and Lamar, and they would take those 3. A lot of people would even take Matt Stafford
or Daniels
over, or Daniels.
There's going to be a sophomore slump there. Though we'll get to that. At some point.
They would take those quarterbacks over Jalen, but here's where I would argue: like, you gotta stop looking at just the talent.
It's tangibles, man.
And you
intangibles.
Yeah, because I get it. As a quarterback, Burrow's more talented. Allen's more talented. Lamar Jackson's more talented as a quarterback, but not as a player.
It's between the ears. It's about what's between the ears, man.
If we're just talking about playing to win, winners, having the Kobe Mamba mentality.
Exactly, man.
That is what Jalen has, and I don't see that from Josh Allen or Joe Burrow
or Jared
Lamar
Goff.
Jackson,
even some of these guys that are vying for
Goff
a
is allergic to the big game.
I'm sorry, Jared Goff against this defense. I don't care what his team looks like.
Forget it.
The Eagles are winning that game 10 out of 10.
10
out of 10. They just boat raced the best quarterback of this era.
Now, I will say this about the Chiefs. I think it was done, their season, with smoke and mirrors.
It was a lot of it. I told you that. Remember our text exchange a few months ago?
They beat a lot of non-playoff teams.
Yes. And defense bailed out Mahomes a ton.
And they're really, their best wins were like their divisional wins against the Chargers.
And the Raiders.
And the Raiders. And they barely got past a team like the Panthers. Now, I'm not going to say the Eagles played the Panthers that great either, because they didn't.
No, well, you know what that is, though? That right there, the Panthers' whole situation, then they're going to make the playoffs next year. That, in my opinion.
The Panthers are a sleeper.
It was a testament to the quick curve. If you had a bell curve going on for Bryce Young leading that team, there was a quick little switch that went off for the Panthers, and they became legitimately competitive.
He needed to get benched in order to learn.
That's what I mean.
And then when they put him back in, he was like, "Okay, I think I got this now."
Yeah. Plus, when you're a Birds team and going into that game, there's always going to be, because you're human, there's always going to be a little bit of looking past the team. I'm sure there was some of that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they had the Steelers coming in the following week after that.
Real quick, when did you? I know we just talked about the halftime, but when did, in your mind? I know when it gets to halftime and you're like, this game ain't over. But in your mind, when did you feel like, I think we're going to win the Super Bowl?
Well, when we went up 27-0, then it's 4 scores. Then I know with how we played a game. And, I mean, a Devontae bomb was the real dagger. But when you go up 4 scores and there's, 8 minutes left in the third quarter.
Yeah.
10 minutes. At that point, I don't really care what great of all time it is. You're down 4 scores in the Super Bowl against the defense you haven't been able to do anything against all day.
Right.
When it was 27-0, I started to relax internally a bit.
You know when and I was nervous, and I couldn't really sit down till, like you said, around the third quarter.
I was up most of the game standing.
I was up most of the game, but you know when I started to text my dad, I think it's over, even though in my heart I knew it wasn't.
Was it the DeJean pick?
Yes.
Because of the energy?
When DeJean did the pick and ran in, and I said, oh, my God, I think we're winning the Super Bowl.
I
think we're going to win this. I think this game is over.
I had that thought, too, but I tempered myself.
I tempered it,
only because I knew who we were playing.
Yeah, that's it.
And know what else crossed my mind, just because this is how my brain works. I thought to myself, if there's any truth to the whole it's rigged thing, what better way to complete a three-peat than with a 17-point deficit to start the comeback? And that was crossing my mind real time.
Calmed down. That first A.J. Brown.
I was furious. I was furious.
But then they got a call.
I couldn't sit down for 5 minutes.
That was equally questionable, and it evened
it. And I said that to my fiance. I said, babe, that's what a makeup call looks like.
That's it.
Because they're both plausible, because both penalties were called because the hand was on the face mask.
Yeah.
Period. Even though the one on JJ was ticky-tack, his hand was in the guy's face mask, and it was interfering with the guy's ability, so I can give him that even if I don't want to.
Yeah.
Same with the Goddard one. You can't go to the head. These guys know that.
You can't go to the head.
You can't go to the head when a defenseless receiver is up. They're going to throw that penalty 9 times out of 10.
I didn't think they were going to call it. Then they did.
Yeah.
Because I've seen Goddard not get a similar call.
Because he's a big dude. Yeah.
Yeah, but he got it on the big stage. He got it. All right. This is what I want to do here, okay? And I would normally not be all for this, but I am now saying that you can't do this any other year but this year. This is what I want to do, okay? I want to package up 2 firsts and some other picks and get Myles Garrett.
You just want to go for it all.
This is it.
You have to.
Because going to the free agent list, all right? Josh Sweat's gone.
Yeah, he's going to get big money
Josh
somewhere.
Sweat's going to get somewhere
and
around
and Jalix Hunt proved his worth.
Josh Sweat's going to go 4 years, $80+ million.
I think Jalix Hunt can step in and be a very good rotational and 50% of the snaps. I mean, I think
like Jalix Hunt.
I think the kid's going to get better.
Do I know that he's ready yet? No, but
Ajomo too.
I really liked him.
Ajomo too.
I like Ajomo. Well, now when we talk about Ajomo, now we're talking about Milton Williams.
Right.
So.
It's the Hargrave situation.
I also think Milton Williams is gone.
I hope he's not, but he had the clutch.
I hope he's not,
He had the clutch sports hoodie on yesterday with the exit interviews, and he said, I need a raise now.
Yeah,
honestly, my opinion, so I know these guys are young dudes. They're in their 20s. I get it, and they've been working their whole life.
Defensive tackle is a position that teams are willing to pay top dollar for.
And that started with Albert Hainsworth back in the day.
And if you look at the Minnesota Vikings are a team that are going to pay big money for a defensive tackle.
Yeah.
The Arizona Cardinals are a team. It's going to pay big money for a defensive tackle.
Right.
So when you look at Milton Williams, you're looking at a guy that's going to get overpaid. He's going to get 4 years, $85 million from somewhere, and I don't think it's going to be from here.
I'll go back to what I said when we first started this conversation. Milton Williams was what, a third-round draft pick?
It's a Howie third-round pick.
Jordan Davis was a first-round draft pick. Ajomo was a 7th-round pick. These guys are playing a lot.
Ajomo's 7th-round pick.
Howie, even if he doesn't do what you're saying and trade the first at 32, you can just go ahead and get the best defensive tackle on the board.
I think Ajomo played so well that he's played himself into taking Milton Williams' spot.
And you know what? They can allocate that money elsewhere. That would free them up to allocate that money elsewhere. You need nothing on offense, really.
I try to replace Josh Sweat with Myles Garrett. And so you have Nolan Smith and Myles Garrett and Jalix Hunt
as your first one in. Yeah, I mean, and then you're
going
to draft another
Carter
one
and
too.
Davis, and it's game over on your line.
And there's Howie is going to add the Zach Bond-like 1-year signing.
But here's my rationale.
He does it every year.
Because people have been arguing with me this week when I say I want to do it. And they're like, yeah, you're giving up 2 first rounds. Yeah, but listen. This is the way Howie would treat the first-round pick this year.
It's a second.
He would trade out of the first round.
It's a second.
Because only skills position players are really going to be the type of player. Like Lamar Jackson got picked 32.
Right.
When he got picked.
Pat Mahomes got picked late.
Yeah. These are guys that you want to give that 5th-year option to.
Right.
So I don't know that you're gonna want to draft an offensive tackle or a defensive end.
Well, now
for that 5th-year option.
You need a right tackle.
You do.
Drafted soon.
You're gonna need. Well, I mentioned that because I think the top 2 positions for the Eagles to draft would be edge and offensive tackle. Really reverse that. Offensive tackle is probably the top of those picks because Lane Johnson was a first-round pick. You need to pick an offensive tackle at a primo selection.
And they're richest at cornerback. Isn't that crazy?
They are.
In terms of talent and situation.
What? I would still take a corner in the draft.
I would bring Slay back for one more year if he wants to play.
Well, see, so now
is it a team option, right, for Slay? Is that what it is?
I don't know.
He's not unrestricted. It's a team. I think it's a team option.
Okay. I think Josh Sweat and Milton Williams are gone. Now, I would make Milton Williams a priority.
Vaughn is the only essential, in my opinion. But Becton, too. You got to keep Becton.
Well, here's the thing about Mekhi Becton. I have an asterisk next to his name because I think there's other factors at play. I think a team like Jacksonville is really thinking
they're going to throw a lot of money in.
Yes.
Yeah.
But maybe not. Mekhi Becton has a degenerative knee issue.
Right.
And I don't think he's going to get big money or long-term money anyway.
Yeah. And a lot of these guys just want to win, man. They want to win rings.
Becton he was so overwhelmed to be on a winner after being with the Jets all those years.
What a great scene with him and his kid on the field.
So I'm thinking you can almost bring Becton back. I don't think anybody's really taking a hometown discount here, but you can get Becton back maybe at a slight discount because he wants to play here and nobody else is going to offer a long-term deal because of his degenerative knee issue.
It's possible. He's still in his 20s, though, right?
I guess. Is he?
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, he's still young.
Steen played really well, and if Stoutland ain't going nowhere, I mean, these guys, this is how I look at this team now. I agree with you that it'd be nice to be able to bring in a Myles Garrett and keep Bond. Obviously,
I think this is where
when you draft this well, man, they just have a different mentality now because they know Howie knows who to draft now. He learned what to do.
Howie would trade out of the first round at that 32. He would trade out of the first round. There's more value for him in the second round. He would do that anyway. So why not package up this first round? And then if you're really talking about getting Myles Garrett and fortifying that line, plus you want to keep him away from teams like Washington and Detroit.
Right.
So if you're really talking about doing that, then you're talking about being in the Super Bowl conversation and being in this exact situation next year.
Well, the most of this core is locked and good.
Right.
And that's on both sides of the ball.
So if you're thinking you're going to be back in this situation next year, then you're in the same position draft-wise.
You may as well win now.
Yeah, who cares about your 31 or 32 pick in the draft next year, too?
Yeah.
You're going to move up in the second round. So just move both those picks to get Myles Garrett. You know how do you get a high second-round pick back? Tanner McKee. Because in this draft, there are 2 quarterbacks, and then there is a whole round of players before you get to the third best quarterback.
In my opinion, Kenny Pickett should be the backup here as long as Jalen Hurts is here.
Yeah, I think Kenny Pickett did fine.
He's a fine backup.
I have no problem with
I mean,
Pickett.
really, without the defense collapsing, he does enough to beat Washington and Washington.
There's going to be teams that do not get a top QB in this draft that don't get what they want.
And the class is weak anyway.
And either going to look elsewhere or go to a veteran bridge. And look, McKee's been in this league a couple of years. Next year will be his 3rd year in the league. He might be ripe to go to a team that might need a quarterback, a la the Raiders or a team like that might need a quarterback.
He'd actually be a good fit for the Raiders.
Or even, how about this? If you don't want to cash in that chip and you're just willing to lose a top pick overall, then how about you include McKee in the Myles Garrett deal? Cleveland needs a quarterback.
But the Raiders are, with Pete Carroll there now. That's a Pete Carroll type of QB.
I would listen. That's my plan. I would package up multiple ones with whatever, a 3, a 5, a 7, whatever. Package up your picks. Go get Myles Garrett and then trade McKee. Use him as a chip to get one of those top picks back.
And then draft your emergency quarterback or sign a veteran off the street as your emergency quarterback, whatever.
Right.
Develop somebody.
Yeah, because
grab someone's practice squatter that is good, that should have been drafted.
We know there's a handful of veteran guys that played their way into being a bridge, like Jameis Winston did or Darnold did.
Exactly.
They played their way into being a bridge. So there's going to be those guys out there. Kirk Cousins could be a bridge for like a Cleveland.
Yeah, because they're Michael Penix now. They should be Michael Penix for the foreseeable future. He actually played well well and showed some promise in short amount of time.
Right. I know the Stefanski Cousins connect.
Falcons are an interesting.
He could end up in Cleveland.
Interesting team, the Falcons, because they have a lot of talent out there, man.
It's kind of like, who's it going to be? New Orleans or Tampa or Atlanta?
Falcons will never win.
That's a weird division.
Detroit's never going to win a Super Bowl. Atlanta's never going to win a Super Bowl.
Detroit fully healthy. I mean, their only problem is Jared Goff.
That's what I'm saying. So, I just don't believe in the big moments when the lights are brightest and the defense is the toughest. I don't believe that Jared Goff is going to get it done. And I said that before this postseason, and I was proven right again. I even picked Washington to beat them for that reason.
Do too.
For that reason.
I believe eventually a guy like Josh Allen will get it done. I really like Lamar. I've always been a Lamar fan. I don't know.
He's not a big game quarterback.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the clutch gene. See, he's a guy. He's a Marino type of quarterback in terms of accomplishment.
See, and here's another thing about what Howie did with Hurts that is smarter than look at Buffalo and Baltimore. You got Allen and Lamar and nothing around them.
Right.
Why would you? I don't understand.
Josh Allen's favorite target is Khalil Shakir.
Yeah, and what Howie did, it's not revolutionary. Go back to Montana. Look at the weapons he had. Roger Craig, Taylor, Rice.
Yes.
The weapons.
Absolutely.
The big offensive line. You had Tom Rathman. He had a tremendous offense built with nothing but weapons around him. So I don't understand what's so difficult. Why did Buffalo not go and make it happen?
Speaking of Montana, only other quarterback to lead his team to 35-plus points in multiple Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Only other guy to do that.
Unbelievable.
And I'll get to it in a number segment, but I have a really cool Super Bowl history points scored fact for you.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love it.
You're going to be kind of surprised at this one. There's going to be a few of these, Tech, that you're like, whoa.
Yes.
Because I was like, whoa.
Yes. I mean, I've seen Jeff Kerr and a bunch of other people list a bunch of stats.
Some of these are an amalgamation of what I've seen, but then some of them I found myself.
Because I've seen a bunch of these stats, and I'm just like, I just can't believe it. I mean, it's more historic than I even thought it was going to be at the end of the game.
It's about legacy, and the truth is, this team now with 2 conference chips and a Super Bowl title in the last 3 seasons, if they get one more Super Bowl ring in the next 2 years, then you can start to realistically say this team is an all-time NFL dynasty with the third, obviously, at that point. But if you just get the second one, it bridges that gap for that conversation. And I think they're going to get it, man. I just think that this group is a bunch of winners. I looked at all the contracts recently and who they have under rookie deals. I mean, you're talking about all the core skill guys and your secondary pretty much, with the exception of Slay, locked up for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, the only thing I worry about, and let's go back to the free agent list here, is I know it's not really a big deal, but you think about a guy like Oren Burks and you think, well, right now, Bond is slated to go to free agency. I don't think he'll make it there, but right now, your duo, your Super Bowl starting duo linebacking guys.
You got to bring them both back.
I
think Oren Burks would want to come back, and that security there for Nakobe is important because as good as Nakobe played,
could miss almost the entire regular season.
No, as good as he's played, he's injury prone.
Yeah.
And that's just the unfortunate truth.
And he got that terrible year-long recovery. That injury was in the Green Bay game, in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So he could miss almost the entire regular season. We don't really know.
Right.
So you need to get a linebacker. I know that they're going to try to build up Trotter, just like they're going to try to build up Ajomo. And same thing with Kenny Gainwell, who's a free agent. They're going to try to build up Will Shipley, and they're going to try to make us believe that all those guys are ready. But
he's underrated. Gainwell.
I thought he was one of, if not the best change-up pace back. I mean, it's hard because you got the tandem in Detroit. And there's a few others around the league. But, I thought...
You got to go on to Houston with Mixon and Pierce.
Yes, exactly. And I thought that when Saquon would go out and Gainwell would come in, at first it's because I want to keep Saquon.
But he runs downhill.
But Gainwell is good.
He knows how to slip and get the extra couple yards.
I love that.
He's a very intelligent
I don't know what
player.
game it was. He put on a hell of a spin move to get a first. It was like a Saquon-like spin move.
He's
I
good.
love this guy.
I mean, it was a Memphis Tiger. People don't realize that when he was at Memphis, he ended up taking the COVID year off, I believe. But the year prior to that, he was either led the nation in scrimmage yards, or he was top 3 in the nation in scrimmage yards at Memphis.
Yeah.
And that was coming out of college.
He would have got selected higher if it wasn't for the COVID
Absolutely.
year.
I mean, that's just the reality of it, and we lucked out. I mean,
yeah.
They've gotten value in the last 4 drafts.
I guess I'm not worried because Howie is Howie. But the
guy is a machine.
I want to go for the big ticket item this year. This is the only year you can do it. You can't think about a guy like Myles Garrett or a Micah Parsons. You can't think about that next year because you're going to need your draft capital after this next season. But
tell Vince Young
right now.
Tell Vince Young this is the real dream team.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, I would tend to agree with you, but I want that big piece.
You know what? I'm 50-50 on that only because honestly, Tech, they're going to win either way.
Josh went with 10, 11 games without a sack in a row.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like he had this monster season. He really didn't. He's going to get paid off of one game. And by the way, before the game, multiple analysts said this is going to be a Josh Sweat game because he's going against Joe Tooney, who's playing out of position.
Right.
Josh
I
Sweat
looked
is
at
going to
that.
beast.
Yeah.
And he did exactly that. And then the guy when Tooney moved over and the backup that played right now, that was Milton Williams. So when you look at Milton Williams and Sweat's monster games, it came against a backup and a guy playing out of position.
They dominated,
and the analysts,
though.
I know, and the analysts sort of knew that it was going to be like that. The lowest graded Eagle on the defense was Jalen Carter in this game.
Doesn't it blow your mind that the Chiefs were actually favored by Vegas? I don't understand. These guys must not really be football people.
But if you look at that favored by a point makes it kind of a pick'em game.
Yeah, but it was a blowout.
I can't believe it.
I had my spread was Eagles minus 8.5.
And you
my
know
spread
what?
on that game, if I was handicapping that game, was Eagles minus 8.5.
It was beyond the blood. It was a national embarrassment.
It was one of the biggest wins in NFL history on that stage.
Exactly. I thought that it was humiliation on the biggest stage in professional sports.
You know, that was the first and only time in the NFL this season where a team didn't cross midfield on its first 9 drives.
That's hard to believe. Because
didn't happen all year.
Right on that first drive, it looked like Mahomes was going to get cooking. Complete.
Yeah, boom, right away.
I was like,
Yeah.
And then no.
Well, when there's pressure, and this is just the truth, it happened to Brady in the Super Bowl. It happened to Mahomes in the Super Bowl twice now. Happened to Brady twice in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the Giants twice. But when a quarterback, I don't care how great they are, you put pressure in their face and get them off their spot before they're ready to be, you're going to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I had no idea it was going to be this kind of
I said
game.
36-27.
Yeah,
I mean, those should have never been in the 20s. It was 40. This was a 40-6 game.
Yeah, it was a 40-6.
This game was 40-6 with 2:57 left.
And the Chiefs deserve this, by the way, because the arrogance. Okay, they came into New Orleans with this attitude, like, well, the Eagles, they're just happy to be here. We live here.
Yeah.
We live on this
We're
stage.
gonna trademark three-peat.
Yeah, they're just happy to be here.
Idiots.
Yeah, like that's a Michael Jordan thing. You guys are not on that. And that's another thing too is they come in to the game and there's this air around them like they didn't really even need to prepare for this game because they're just so good. Meanwhile, the Eagles were locked in.
Meanwhile, the day before the Super Bowl, the calls Jalen Hurts taken, 2 guys from Michael Jordan and Derek Jeter.
Exactly.
And this guy's talking to the greats
He's talking to Jordan
of each sport.
He's a Kobe guy. He's the new Kobe mentality guy in sports.
I didn't have a doubt going in that they were going to not win the game. I knew they were going to win the game. The question for me was...
I was confident, too. I told my dad that. I said, I am strangely confident. My dad goes, I don't know.
In a game like that...
I hear you.
In a game
but
like
I'm
that,
confident.
on an indoor surface, and how glaring now is the field conditions of Super Bowl 57?
Right.
How glaring is that now? Because you see on an inside track without anybody being able to mess with their feet what that looks like. That's a different Super Bowl. If that game's played 10 times in a dome with these teams, the Birds are winning 8 out of 10.
Might have happened the first time, even though our defense wasn't
as good still.
Yeah.
Similar line. Similar
line.
Pieces on the line.
Yeah, you had Fletcher Cox there.
Brandon Graham.
Brandon Graham.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, Super Bowl champs, a demolition of historic proportions. And congrats to the Birds and to our fan base. And just happy to be – you could really be happy to be an Eagles fan and put to bed the narratives about Jalen not being elite, because he certainly is, and anything else is just self-sustaining bias.
And you know what? And you know who's getting lost in all this is not just Jalen. It's Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni.
These guys love him, man.
He's people
beloved
can
by
say
his
what
players.
he wants. I get it. He's a kind of a doofus.
He's
sometimes.
He's quirky.
This
yeah.
guy's a winner, though, man, and that's what I want.
You know what I saw
want
this
guys
week?
that know how to win.
I was watching Nick Sirianni collegiate highlights of him playing wideout.
Really?
Good receiver.
Yeah,
I mean, it was like D2 or 3, but he's making contested catches. He's in the end zone stealing 50-50 balls.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I was like, Nick Sirianni, no kidding.
I love that mic'd up where he's on the sidelines and he tells Kellen, he goes, "Oh, if we score here, it's over."
Yeah.
Just call it. Just call it.
Yeah.
And then he calls that play, the bomb to Devontae, and it is over. And they're celebrating with each other, and they're like, "Yo, it's over."
Crazy.
Because they knew at that point it was over.
You're up 34-0. You know, even Frank Reich, he was down 35-3 at halftime. He needed a whole half to come back from that. And that's only happened once in the history of football, 108 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. 2-time Super Bowl champs, 5-time NFL champs. And, Tech, it's important to note that our three most recent titles, 1960 and in 2018 and 2025.
You had to beat the best in all three of them.
All three of them. Vince Lombardi in that first one, his only playoff
Bart
loss
Starr,
ever.
Vince Lombardi. Then you had to go
Jim
Brady,
Taylor,
Belichick.
Brady Belichick, and then Reid Mahomes. You could argue it's the best trio of NFL championships in the league.
Oh, yeah. The Eagles had to earn it. They couldn't, the
narrative has changed for this franchise.
Yeah, because I was saying, all right, look, in 2008, right, the Yankees fell apart at the end. So we got lucky that the Phillies got to play Tampa Bay.
Right.
Because I know Tampa Bay had the best record for a lot of it, but the Yankees were in it, and they fell apart, and it was Tampa. And when it ended up being, we got to the World Series, and it was the Phillies and the Rays, I was like, we're winning the World Series this year.
Right.
This is our year. Because we didn't have to beat the best. And then in 2009, when we did have to go up against the best, we lost. We lost to the Yankees.
But this time,
but the Eagles,
we went up against the best.
Yeah, and in 17, I felt like, in 17, listen, in what was it, 04 or whatever?
When they
lost to
24-21.
To Brady and Belichick. You get your revenge.
And that was a 14-14 game starting the fourth.
Right. You get your revenge 13 years later against Brady and Belichick. You had to beat the best. You lost against them, you had to beat the best.
And they did it again.
And then you lost to Reid and Mahomes, and then you come back and you beat them. You had to beat the best.
Amazing.
The Eagles haven't had it easy like other teams, and I don't think the 83 Sixers did either. And look,
they had to sweep the Lakers.
And remember the Sixers, Lakers with Iverson. They won the first game. Everybody went crazy, but you had to beat the best, and you couldn't. You were going against Kobe and Shaq.
Right.
You could not beat the best, and you never got a chance to get revenge. See, so and the Phillies never got a chance to get revenge over the Yankees with that same team. It never happened.
Right.
So now the Eagles are able to get revenge twice. They're able to do it against the best, the first best, and do it against the new best.
It's just a great story.
It really is.
What a remarkable season. Just overall, a remarkable season for a remarkable group. And there's a reason why when you load your team up with national champions, Heisman winners, Heisman finalists, Fred Biletnikoff winners, all these different award winners, all these different blue chip players, they've always won at every level that they've played at, from Pee Wee League to middle school to high school to college. All these guys on this team, up and down this roster, have always won. And it's no surprise that they brought home the ultimate chip.
Unbelievable.
Beautiful thing.
It still feels surreal to some extent.
It does. It's only been, 5 days, but feels like more.
It does. All right, this is a championship edition of the Vet Alumni Podcast, so it's only right we bring back the Numbers Don't Lie segment. Here we go, right now.
Numbers don't lie.
Numbers don't lie.
You know that the numbers don't lie.
Men lie, women lie, numbers don't.
Numbers don't lie. Look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie.
Numbers Don't Lie, Super Bowl edition.
It's back.
It's back.
Because picks are done now. I decided, Tech, and this is a monumental thing for our show, I will not be picking NBA games in protest of the Sixers.
Yeah, I agree. I'm boycotting
I think we
them.
wait till baseball.
Yeah. I mean, this is a tough one.
It is. But what I'm about to go through is not tough in any way. It is actually a jovial experience to be able, and surreal experience to be able to recap some of these numbers, Tech.
Yeah.
Here you go. 145, Tech. It's the amount of points that the Eagles scored this postseason.
I saw that and I love it.
Which is the most in NFL postseason history. People say, well, they played the wild card game. So what? Many teams have played the wild card game and won Super Bowls. Many teams have played 4 playoff games and either won or lost, but they are good offenses.
True.
145 points, Tech. Remarkable.
Woo.
9, Tech. You know what that is?
9.
The amount of field goals that Jake Elliott has made in Super Bowl history.
Wow.
He is tied for first all time with Harrison Butker, who was shut out in Super Bowl 59.
He was.
Which for that title right there, for that record, that blooms large.
It does.
Remarkable.
It does.
Kicky Boy gets back on track.
Yeah, he did.
23, Tech. The amount of yards KC had at the half.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think...
the second fewest of all time.
Yeah, I think Jahan Dotson had more yards than him at
the Eagles
half.
had more points than they had yards.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Plus 50, Tech. The Eagles' point differential, which is only bested in the playoffs, the championship rounds, the championship game and the Super Bowl, only bested by the 89 Niners, 72 points, plus 72, and the 85 Bears, plus 60. But there's an asterisk here. I'm adding 24 points to this total because you take away the last touchdown that the Commanders scored, and you take away the last 2 that the Chiefs scored, because they don't really count. So in my opinion, they would be right there with the Niners at plus 72, plus 74 as the greatest defensive performance really for point differential in NFL postseason history. Those teams, the 89 Niners, Bill Walsh's Niners, the 85 Bears, Dick's Bears, the Eagles are in that same conversation.
Yeah.
18, Tech, the amount of total games the Eagles won this year, which is the most in any NFL season since the aforementioned 85 Bears.
Woo!
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
I mean, wow. I know there's an extra
that.
game, but they lost a few too. Most, and that's 30 years, Tech.
Yeah.
40 years. 40 years.
Wow.
0.51 is Jalen Hurts EPA per dropback, which is expected points added. It's a metric based on, well, if you get the ball at the 50, you're expected to score at least 2.5 points. If you get the ball at the 20, maybe you're not expected to score points. Expected points added, 0.51, is the highest EPA per dropback all time in the Super Bowl by a quarterback.
Wow.
59 Super Bowls, and Jalen Hurts has the best performance. And an honorable mention is Nick Foles' third.
Wow.
At 0.47. So the Eagles have 2 of the 3 most efficient quarterback performances in NFL history.
Wow.
119.7, Jalen Hurts quarterback rating in the Super Bowl, the 6th highest out of 59 Super Bowls.
Woo.
Plus 68, the largest point differential in playoff history, all the playoff games. And when you take off the garbage points, it's plus 92 if you adjust that for those touchdowns I mentioned. And this was a 40-6 game with 2:57 to go in the Super Bowl.
Wow.
4, Tech, Jalen's amount of Super Bowl rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
Second all time to Emmitt Smith with 5.
Wow.
Who played in 3 Super Bowls.
Yes.
Jalen is going to break this record because I got
record.
news for you, Tech.
Yep.
This isn't his last big dance.
No.
3 is the amount of NFL championships since 1960, like we talked about, how he had to beat 3 of the best coaches ever. Lombardi, of course, the trophy's named after him, Belichick and Reid. 7, Tech, is the amount of quarterbacks who appeared in multiple Super Bowls and won one in their first 5 seasons.
Yes.
The others...
And that list is crazy, I think.
Aikman,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Mahomes, Big Ben, Kurt Warner, Russell Wilson. And the common thread, you mentioned it earlier, all of those quarterbacks had everything they needed around them.
Yes.
Either a top-tier defense or the best skill position players or both.
I don't understand teams that have an elite quarterback and don't do that. I don't understand it.
You have to.
Because
it's a team game, and just like they said, you can't be great without the greatness of others.
That's it.
And that's the truth. 81.9, Tech. This was Jalen's adjusted completion percentage in the playoffs. So adjusted completion percentage accounts for throwaways, takes them off of your attempts, accounts for drops, adds it to your completions.
Yeah.
And with his adjusted completion, it's almost like a common sense completion rate.
Right.
81.9% in the playoffs. Just, I mean, you're completing 8 out of 10 throws you make.
Yeah.
No matter where they're going.
Wow.
2, Tech. 2 is the amount of quarterbacks in the Super Bowl with 2 passing touchdowns, 50 or more rushing yards, and a rushing touchdown in the Super Bowl.
Only 2?
Only 2. Jalen Hurts and Joe Montana.
Jesus Christ.
I told you there's going to be some of these on here where you're like, yo, how is this even happening?
Right.
And the last one I got for you, Tech, my favorite one, 147. So I started with 145, which was the most points in Super Bowl history, postseason history, I should say.
Yeah.
In one postseason. 147 is the amount of points that the Eagles franchise has now scored in Super Bowls, which is good for 7th all time.
Wow.
They've scored more points than just 6 other teams in the Super Bowls. And we're talking about San Francisco, Dallas, Kansas City, New England, Green Bay. The teams that are considered the top dynasties in football for many years, Pittsburgh. That would be the other 6.
Yeah.
And the Eagles are 7th. Playing in 5 Super Bowls, winning 2, really, really should have won 3.
It took 40 or more points for both of our Super Bowl wins.
And that's why, Tech, numbers don't lie.
Yes, sir. All right, so that'll do it, and I guess we'll be back in a couple weeks.
Yeah, we'll take next week off in observance of a Super Bowl kickback, basically.
Got to do it.
And I'm like A.J. Brown, bro. I'm already ready to look ahead the next season and what they got to do to get back there.
Yes.
Isn't that amazing?
We're a month away from free agency.
We are a month away from free agency.
What,
we just won a chip.
Yeah, right. We're like 69. We're 69 days away from the draft.
From our draft show.
Yeah. So, that's the advantage of having a long, a Super Bowl run. And winning the Super Bowl is that, you go a month longer than everybody else. So it kind of shortens the offseason.
And when we come back, I'll bring Around the Bases back for a short fill segment.
Oh, yeah.
To talk about some things that I want to get into as at that point, we're going to be talking about spring training starting up.
Yes.
So it'll be our spring training preview show, in essence.
We'll be getting the birds going again. We'll be getting the fills going again.
And we're not going to talk about the Sixers again, I don't think.
No, I mean, something monumental.
I don't think there's anything to talk about.
No, Paul George is a proven loser. It's the worst contract I can ever remember.
I put it out in the public atmosphere on our X account when it happened, and I stand by my words then.
I agree,
You should have traded Embiid last offseason. It's the highest his value would ever be. It would have taken balls to do it, and Daryl Morey doesn't have balls. So.
No. So you're stuck with Embiid, you're stuck with Paul George, and you're stuck with a losing organization.
It's a losing culture now. Their window was when the Raps and the Bucks won titles. We know that, and they blew it.
Yeah, they're an absolute disgrace as an organization and a team and everything that goes with it. I don't think that we can continue to talk about them. But let's see if the Flyers give us something to talk about in the upcoming weeks.
That's a young hockey team that doesn't have high expectations. So, anything they do is almost like a bonus.
Exactly. All right, we will see you in a couple weeks.
Vet Alumni.